I would like to welcome everyone to this edition of Local Lore, which has been a summer series at the Alameda Library. And due to COVID concerns, we're bringing you this via Zoom today. Today's lecture will cover the history of the home tour, and it'll be presented by Denise Brady. After her presentation, she will take questions at the end. And you can also ask questions or make comments on the chat, which will be monitored throughout the presentation. Let me introduce myself. I'm Conchita Perales. I'm the Vice President of the Alameda Architectural Preservation Society. And I met Denise when I started to volunteer with the Home Tour Committee and AAPS back in 2010 when my house was on the home tour. But let me tell you a little bit about Denise. She was past president and current member of the Alameda Architectural Preservation Society. She was trustee emeritus of the California Preservation Foundation. She's a member of the National Trust for Historic Preservation. And she spent her early years growing up in Europe, where she developed a keen appreciation of really old buildings. Since 1979, she's been a realtor, specializing in vintage architecture. And she's so well-versed in the theme that she has been called the hacienda or matchmaker. She really totally geeks out on vintage architecture, and she's difficult to stop once she gets started. So watch out. The only thing she really enjoys talking about more than old houses is her grandchildren. So let's welcome Denise Brady.
Thank you, Conchita. Thank you for a wonderful introduction. And welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Sorry for the little confusion the last couple of days, but it looks like it's all worked out, and hopefully people are able to attend because of the Zoom. All right. We're getting started. My trusty assistant, Scott, my husband, is helping me. And here we have Local Lore, 40 years of Alameda Historic Home Tours. Scott, which way do I go? Scott, one moment. I'd like to start with the creation of the Alameda Victorian Preservation Society. Originally, it was called AVPS for Victorian. Then, now it is called the Alameda Architectural Preservation Society, which we refer to as AAPS. And I'll explain a little bit more of that as we go along. I'll be going through the creation of the house tour, why it was created. We'll have an overview of the tour guidebook through the years, not all of them, but I've picked a representation of some of them. We will showcase some of the homes that have been on the tour, some of which more than once. We'll be talking about the neighborhoods, Alameda neighborhoods that we have had the tours in over the years. I'm going to be talking about the vendor showcase. And at one time we had what was called the Day in the Park. And very important, I'll be talking about the people involved in this whole process. And I'll finish up with a summary. And then, of course, I want to put in a plug for the next tour. All right. The Alameda Victorian Preservation Society was created in 1972. In 1973, Article 26, also known as Measure A, was a charter amendment placed on the ballot by the people of Alameda. The multiple driving factors behind this were obviously preservation, density, and traffic. Many people think that the only reason Measure A, or Article 26, was created was because of the destruction of the older homes. That was a part of it, but there was also a large portion of the population then that was very concerned about the single family homes being torn down and replaced with very large apartment buildings with no thought to increasing the or improving the infrastructure, and naturally the effect that would have on traffic, because Alameda is an island and we have limited ingress and egress. So the support came from a wide spectrum of Alameda voters, including those concerned with the rampant destruction of the older homes. Prior to the passage of Measure A, The AAPS was founded in 1972 and later incorporated as a nonprofit in 1975. Measure A was approved by the voters in 1973 and then again in 1991, setting the maximum density for any residential development within the city at 1 housing unit per 2,000 square feet of land. Its passage ensured that housing development in Alameda wouldn't outpace the development of transportation infrastructure, which was a major concern. Here we have an example of happened to be a Victorian home next to what had been another older home that had been torn down and replaced with a large apartment building. It was not just Victorians that were being torn down, but there were other old homes as well. The Alameda Architectural Preservation Society changed its name in 1995. I might add, at my suggestion. At that point, we were, in our home tours, we were including more than just Victorians, and there was becoming a broader appreciation of the other vintage styles here in Alameda. The creation of the house tour. The original concept was for like-minded homeowners to share their resources for renovating their homes, which then led to inviting the public to share in the experience. It was kind of a support group, if you will. In 1973, the first public tour was held. And 2021, this year, celebrates the 48th anniversary of that tour. With some periodic gaps, 2021 is the 38th tour, which is 23 consecutive years, including pandemics. So over the years, there was a gap on and off that without a minus of 10 tours. We are looking forward to 2023 and our 50th anniversary from our first tour. Now we have a sampling of the guidebooks from 1973 through 2020 last year. The first guidebook was very simple. It was 1 page printed on both sides and folded in half. And you'll see the house there, I believe that's 815 Grand Street. And there was a description typed out and probably mimeographed. This was 1974, the second year. I'll try not to spend too much time on this, just to give you an idea of how the guidebook has evolved. 1979, a little different format, more like a scroll work. 1981, this was Lisa Baker's first cover, I believe. She's done a few of the guidebooks. So you see the map on the right, all hand-drawn. 1983, this was also by Lisa Baker. My personal favorite, I have a copy of that poster, which in multicolor, and it was reproduced in black and white for the cover of the guidebook. Now, if you look at the house pictured, 2070 San Jose, many of you would probably recognize that as that huge, beautiful Stainer Victorian on the corner of San Jose and Willow. Many people refer to it as the phone book house because it has appeared on the phone book, Alameda local phone book, several times. 1986, we're getting a different look here. 1992, a very different look. I might mention here, someone has said, well, why are they all so different? Why are they so different? Well, honestly, it's due to whoever our volunteer talent was that year. And we are a volunteer organization, and we look within our group to see who has the capabilities of producing artwork and graphics. So it varies from year to year. This was 1994 was the first year that the Alameda Historical Museum and the Alameda Preservation Society worked together. We co-hosted the tour. We worked together and we also split the proceeds. Oh, wait a minute. No, that year the money went to, I'm sorry, I'm mistaken. That money went to a project sponsored by the museum. Now we jump forward to 1999, a very different look. This was something unique, very creative. And this was the first year that we featured paid advertisements in the guidebook. This was a way to raise money to cover the cost of the guidebook, which helped obviously for our goal of raising funds for the two organizations. These are drawings by Richard Knight. Judith, many of you know Judith Lynch, Richard Knight was her husband and a very talented artist. Speaking of Judith Lynch, the following few years, the guidebook was, the artwork was supplied by Judith herself. And one thing I learned about Judith, many things, but she likes to feature pictures with people. She likes to show the people, especially in the time, in the era. So here's 3 examples we have here, black and white. Just another example. I think this is inside of that year. I'm sorry, don't know exactly. Tried to pick a nice sampling from the many that we have. 2005 to 2007, a different look from previous, but these 3 years were all very similar. The designers Tracy Manio and Gordon Newell. 2008 to 2016, we have yet some other examples. Then we come to 2020 and the pandemic hit. What do we do? What do we do? Well, actually, we had a tour signed up. We had 7 homes ready to go. We wanted to do something that had not been done before, and that was feature homes in the West End. And we were ready to go. We had them signed up, and the pandemic hit. So we had to rethink things. We couldn't be taking people inside homes. So we said, well, we don't want to do nothing. We have to do something. So we chose the Bay Station Heritage area, which is full of houses by Marcuse and Remmel, and we put together a walking tour. And it was a great success. I think people just really appreciated the fact that we did something and they learned something about the neighborhood, about the very popular design and build team of Marcuse and Remmel. And got a lot of positive feedback from that. And we will be doing something similar this year because unfortunately we still have COVID with us and we want to stay safe. So I'll get to that in a little while. Showcase of homes. Now I'm starting with this one because this is a unique situation. An early project, an early endeavor taken on by what was AAPS at that time. This home was located at 1520 Grand. It was going to be demolished and a parking lot put up. So the AAPS took it upon themselves to organize this project of saving the house. And it was purchased for $1. And then it was moved to a new home on a vacant lot at 418 Santa Clara Avenue that cost $9,000. And that's where it lives now. And after that, it became this. Now you saw it in its new home, and it was featured on a home tour. So this house really had a wonderful, wonderful happy tale to tell. Here's a house that's been on the tour, I believe, 6 times. This is 1012 Grand, a beautiful, elegant stick style Victorian. Some of you that have been on our past tours have probably been inside this house, maybe even more than once, and it's always rewarding. Here we have 2070 San Jose, the phone book house. This is an iconic Queen Anne, quintessential Queen Anne Victorian, probably one of the most iconic houses in the East Bay. And we are fortunate to have it here in Alameda. This is a house on San Jose Avenue, 1897, transitional Queen Anne to colonial revival, sporting a very fancy witch's cap on the top of that turret. I'm being told to slow down. I get excited and I want to keep going. Here we have 1221 Sherman Street. It's painted a different color now, but for many years it was known as the White House of Alameda. Really a stately big house. 1897 Colonial Revival. That's been featured on the tour twice. Here we have a iconic craftsman on Fernside Boulevard. And this has been on the tour, I believe, once, possibly twice. Very, very classic craftsman. All the details are there. This is on Bay Street, a Tudor revival. Was not originally designed by Julia Morgan, but some later remodeling was done by Julia Morgan. So that's part of its claim to fame. And that's been on the tour, I believe, a couple of times. What I'm doing here is going in a progression through the eras of some of the houses that have been featured on the tour. Here we have a wonderful house, 2926 Gibbons Drive, a majestic Mediterranean. It sits on the gore, that corner, just has such an amazing presence. That was on our last tour, our last regular tour in 2019. This house was also featured that same year. This is up the street at 3101 Gibbons Drive, built in 1936. It's known as the Electric House. That's what we call it. It was the first all-electric house in Alameda, and some of the original copper-lined fixtures are still inside. This house has been on the tour twice. Very unique, very fun experience to go in there and see what state of the art was for 1936. This would be known as streamline moderne. That would be the architecture. It's painted now very nice muted natural tones, but for many years it was white, and the railings and accents were a turquoise blue. And if you came at it from the left, where you see the rounded porch, it looked like the rear end of an ocean liner, which was really the style. That was the motif for streamline moderne. I don't have another photograph of this, but I took this picture from one of the guidebooks. This is the youngest house that we've had on our tours. The early years focused mainly on Queen Anne Victorians, and then we expanded to later periods. And this house was built in 1947. So to date, it is the youngest house that we featured. The neighborhoods, most of the time we've focused on homes in the Gold Coast. I mean, there's naturally a lot of interest for houses there. They're big and stately and people want to go inside them. There's also been houses outside of the Gold Coast in the area nearby, sort of banding the Gold Coast, which we're now here referred to as the Bronze Coast. I'm going to stop here and say, for those of you that have heard the Bronze Coast, people have asked me, well, what is the Bronze Coast? How do you define it? Where is it? Well, the truth is, that's a phrase that I made up over 30 years ago. Essentially, I was kidding. It was a joke. People asked me, Denise, do you live in the Gold Coast? I said, no, I live in the Bronze Coast. It's just outside of the Gold Coast. And it's not really defined, but over the years, that term spread with local real estate agents. And then lo and behold, a couple of years ago, I saw it on Google Maps. So it's not really an official term, but loosely defined. It's an area just outside of the Gold Coast. Leonardville, down along Clinton and at the foot of Union. Leonardville, which is an historic district. Some of you might have seen the booklet that was put out by the City of Alameda. That was the author of that was Woody Minor. The East End, we've had tours over there a couple of times. The most recent tour that we had in 2019 was exclusively in the East End, and we focused on that, trying to get various representation of large and small with a wide variety of eras. I think the earliest was 1889, and then we had the 1936 Electric House. So a really good collection representing a nice wide variety of eras. The West End, well, that's on hold for now. The people that were ready last year, we talked to them again this year and they said they would, but obviously we have to put that on hold. So we're hopeful, fingers crossed, that we will be able to put that tour together and have a nice new element to our tour, which will be in the West End. Central Alameda, over the years, a lot of the houses have been central, some in the Gold Coast, some in the East End. Looking at the maps and doing my research, I noticed some of the tours were very spread out. And people say, well, why can't you get the houses close together? We try. It's not always easy to get the houses on the tour, and we do the best we can to make sure they're interesting and appealing and hopefully close together. Bay Station was featured last year, and the nice thing about that, it was very walkable and the houses were all close together. I'm going to move on. An example of some of the maps. And you will see, particularly the one on the left, we have all the way over on Morton Street. So look at the map to the left, with the house all the way over to High Street. So really spread out. The center one, not as spread out, but it's actually more than norm for them to be spread out. This was last year. Excuse me, not last year, but 2 years ago, 2019, the last tour. This was the one in the East End. Now, this year's tour is going to be in Leonardville and beyond, and it is contained to a 6-block area. This particular area has a treasure trove of architectural styles ranging from the earliest 1878, going all the way through to 1951. And I'll be talking about that some more, but it's very walkable. The vendors. This was an outgrowth from the early tours. One of the main reasons the tour started was because back then in the 70s or in early 70s, there weren't a lot of resources for people who were restoring their homes. So when those homeowners found a contractor or found a vendor source, they were happy to share, and it was a really good support group. So they invited some of the vendors to come to what we call Day in the Park. That was in Franklin Park. It was the same day as the tour, and the vendors would set up in the park. We would also have the tickets and guidebooks there. So it was a lot of work, and it was a big event to have the vendors there at Day in the Park. We also had food and games for children. It was a lot of fun. It would be nice actually to try to bring that back. When that became just too much work for whomever was available to volunteer year after year, that evolved into inviting the vendors to bring their displays to each of the specific houses rather than all centrally located at Franklin Park. So I thought I would mention what some of those vendors were: color consultants, painters, faux finishing, ceramic and porcelain tiles, stained and leaded glass, window coverings, woodworking and gingerbread, and ornamental plaster. The good news today is some of this is more easily attainable. There's been a response. The market has responded to the demand for people wanting to restore old houses and the bits and pieces of their old houses. And I'm delighted to see that evolve. Now we have the people involved. These tours would not happen, obviously, without our people. The homeowners, why they say yes? Well, I've interviewed a lot of the homeowners over the years, and the number one reason we get is, well, there's a project we want to get done. We want to get this done. We've been really trying to get something done. We keep procrastinating, keep putting it off. So this is a kick in the derriere. It's a deadline. We'll get this done, and it motivates them to get something that they otherwise might have put off. Another interesting aspect is they get to tell their story, and each story is unique. There are some parallels. There's always, the pains and the frustrations and delays, but yet each story is unique, and each of their stories is featured in the guidebook, and it gives the public an opportunity to hear what they have to say, what mattered to them, what advice they might have for other people who want to restore their homes. The house captains, very important liaison between the homeowners, the docents, and the committee. Typically, the house captains that we recruit or assign are those volunteers who have been docents for a few years, not just coming in as a newbie. It's someone who's done it for a number of years and knows what to anticipate and what the job entails, and how to, sometimes if there's questions or problems, you're the go-between. And that's a very important job. And then, of course, we have the docents. These are the volunteers who guide our guests and point out the special features of the house. In exchange for their volunteer shift, they receive a free ticket to the tour. The volunteers are not required to come in costume. As we like to say, it's admired, but not required. Many of them, if they don't the first time, usually by the second or third time, they want to dress up. And we offer some guidance on how to put together a costume that's not expensive, or it's simple. Over the years, I've acquired a lot of costumes that I can lend out to people, but it's really not that difficult to put together an ensemble that makes you feel a part of the process, a part of the atmosphere of the day. We've invited homeowners to do that, and once in a while they do, but we don't want to push that. We're just delighted that they've given us their home for the day. The committee, I'm sort of reaching out here. We have the most important thing starting off is procuring the homes, and some years it's not that difficult, some years it's very difficult. And we're always looking to what, if they say no, perhaps one year, maybe they would consider it in a future year. Most people are flattered. They don't always say yes, but they're usually flattered that we would consider their home tour worthy. We also need help recruiting docents. We have a good base of docents. We typically need between 100 to 130. And that's a lot. And some people have been doing it year after year, but then there are people who move away or don't want to do it anymore. So we're always on the lookout for more docents. Publicity, very important job. Nowadays, the internet has made that easier, but there's still many steps involved, and someone has to monitor that. The guidebook, that's a lot of work. We need people with the talent to put it together, within the guidebook, we have advertising. We've had people that are able to go and sell space in the guidebook, which is very helpful to raise money to offset our costs. Ticket sales, we have one person in charge with a crew of 3 or 4 that helps out with ticket sales. And then at the end of the day, after the tour is over, we have a thank you party. This particular year, it's going to be in the backyard of my house. My husband, Scott, and I have offered up our backyard. 2 years ago, after our tour in the East End, we had an elegant party at the Alameda Elks Lodge. We had a lovely sit-down lunch, and we had some entertainment and awards. It was really nice. Over the years, it's been in people's backyard. It's also been in the gardens at the Myers house. It just varies year to year what seems right for that particular year and who the parties are involved. But we need help organizing it, getting the food, setting up, clearing out. Any volunteers? We'll be looking for you. Here was the after party 2010. Sit down. We have a light fare and libation, of course. It's really a fun way to wind down at the end of the day. We have a lot of fun together. Here's some docents from, I guess, 2 or 3 years ago. I'm not sure what year, but happy docents in costume. The picture on the left was 2 years ago. That's myself and Conchita at the Elks Lodge after the East End tour. And the picture on the right, who are those lovely ladies? Votes for Women. These were our suffragettes out marching the streets. We walked along the Bay Station. This was our walking tour last year. And last year, as many of you might know, marked the centennial celebration of the women's suffrage movement. And we were there representing them. We can do it again. My closing thoughts. Over the years, I've done this, I don't know, 30 some times, I'm not exactly sure. It has been a very rewarding learning experience. People ask me, well, Denise, how do you know so much? And I do know a lot about vintage architecture. I do geek out on it. And a lot of this knowledge has come from my participation over the years in the house tour. I learned a great deal about architecture, the neighborhoods, the different nuances to the neighborhoods in Alameda. And through the process, also a lot about local history. When you learn about the architecture and the architects and why and how the various neighborhoods were developed, some torn down, you learn a lot about local history. Lasting relationships have been created. I know people that I've met through AAPS and worked on the tour for years, and I'd like to say we've become friends. Also, the docents, there definitely is a camaraderie that occurs between the docents, and many of them want to participate as groups year to year. And even if they only see each other once a year, it's something that they look forward to. Let's see, building awareness and appreciation for Alameda's unique architectural heritage. That's what we want to do. That's part of our mission. It's part of our passion. And this is one very fun way of doing it. It's very hands-on. People get to, and instead of just walking around looking and guessing, they're learning. They're learning from each other. And it's our contribution toward a stewardship of these valuable resources to pass on to the next generation. And I see that as one of my jobs, and I'm happy to continue with it. Someone said to me a couple of years ago, I was in an open house, a broker's open with some other real estate people, and I was walking around the house pointing out things because that's what I do. And another agent said, Denise, what happens when you retire? And I got to thinking about that, and I thought, well, I have this knowledge, I might as well share it. I might as well pass it on. So I'm doing that here with this. And also, this was my segue into the upcoming tour. As I mentioned before, it will be a self-guided walking tour. I will be narrating the tour. It's going to be available as a printed guidebook and also as an interactive app for your mobile device. It goes on sale, opens September 26th, and you have 30 days to sign up. Within that 30 days, you can sign up for the app. Once you've signed up, you have it forever. Some people thought, oh, you only can use it for 30 days. No, once you have it, if you sign on during that 30 days, you have it forever. It can be downloaded for your viewing and at your convenience. We will have people at the tour at the foot of Union Street to give out guidebooks and to explain about the tour. But for those who can't attend that day, you can download the app and go at your convenience. As I mentioned earlier, this 6-block area of Leonardville and beyond, some blocks surrounding it, is really a treasure trove of vintage architectural styles. I mentioned the oldest, 1878, and the youngest is 1951, and a wide variety in between those years. So we're looking for volunteers as well. And I'm ready to answer questions if I think we've taken up our hour, just over
a half hour.
Are there questions coming into the chat? I think Scott is monitoring the chat.
Denise?
Yes. Hi,
This
Betty.
is Betty Cosmos. Yeah, it's good to see you, girl.
Yeah. One of my favorite docents.
When we volunteer this year, what exactly are the volunteers going to be doing?
Good question. Thank you, Betty. Since we're not going inside houses, I have mapped out the walking tour route in this neighborhood, and we docents can basically be guiding people. Some of the intersections we have to cross over, some of them you turn right instead of left, but we would be basically guiding people along the route for the tour. And what the committee had decided up front was, since it's going to be outdoors, most of these intersections, I'm pretty sure all of them have shade. We would ask the docents to sign up for a 1-hour shift. They could do longer if they like. And then they would get the app for free. I'm not sure about the guidebook. I'd have to check with Kevis on that. But certainly you'd be invited to the after party, which is going to be at my house, in my backyard, outdoors.
Yeah.
So once again, so you'd be standing outside. We are going to, there's probably, I think, 6 intersections that we want to place docents at, and we would provide a chair and water. I don't think we would have coverage like a canopy, but we'd pick shady locations. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, oh God, I'm getting old. It went right through my head now. I was going to ask you another thing about when the tour starts, what, at 10 o'clock?
Yeah, it's from 10 to 4.
Okay.
And we will, whenever people want to sign up, it'll be fine. For those time periods where there's a gap, if we don't have a docent at a corner, I have some A-frame directional signs that I'm putting those up anyway.
Okay.
But we wanted to offer the docents an opportunity to participate, because we can't do our regular tour, but this way they can participate. And it's the next best thing to being inside a house and answering questions and guiding traffic.
Well, you know, kiddo, I'm one of the dinosaurs that doesn't have an iPhone. So an app doesn't do me any good because I don't have anything to put it on.
The guidebook, then you can get the guidebook.
Oh, okay. All right.
We are doing a guidebook.
Okay. All right. So what I would do then, if I wanted to, in volunteering, I'd go to Alameda Home Legacy Tour and sign up on that website.
Yeah. Or AAPS. Conchita, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. You want to go to Alameda-Legacy-Home-Tour.org. And as soon as you start typing the address in your Google search, it will come up.
Okay.
And there's different tabs where you can go volunteer or buy my ticket for the tour.
Give it the address again.
So it's Alameda-Legacy-Home-Tour.org. It's up right now on the postcard. And yeah, the app is a download onto your smartphone or your tablet.
I don't even have a stupid phone, so.
I know. I want to let everybody know that once you download it, it's $20 for download, and you can share it with your family and friends. You don't have to pay one per person. So in that sense, it's less expensive than it has been other years where we do a per person. And once you download it, you can keep it, and you can go on this walking tour anytime you want. So we are featuring up to over 80 houses on this tour, and it might be a lot to do on one sitting. So you can always do 20 or 25 and then come back the next day, or you can take a break, go for a lunch and come back and do the rest. It's really a very interesting tour this year where Denise narrates it, and she features the architectural styles from the Victorian era through the mid 20th century. So we're just very excited about learning how to identify the different architecture features so that when you walk around the island, you can identify the houses. The book that we are producing, we cannot include all the 80 houses, so we are including about 40 houses, yeah, that highlight the different architectural styles, and you'll be able to walk it and learn the same way. We will have also a map. We will give, we're going to have a table, a ticket table. On the 26th, there'll be a map that we can give, that we'll be able to give to everyone so that you don't get lost and you know where you're going. And we'll also have AAPS, different items like mugs and beer glasses and t-shirts and things like that for sale. So it's very exciting for AAPS this year. We're excited about the tour.
Will we be assigned then after we sign up for the volunteer? Will you get back to us, Denise, as to where you are going to put us?
Yes, I will. Be happy to. I've already written you down, Betty.
No.
You're first.
Okay, girl.
You'll get the shadiest spot out there.
Oh, sweet. You're sweet. Great.
We are getting some questions. I'm just gonna say it out loud just in case. Yes, this year the tour is only an exterior walking tour. We're not doing any of the interiors because of the pandemic. So it will all be exterior only.
Yeah. Okay. Well, now all we have to do is just pray for a beautiful day.
That's not too hot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But we appreciate everybody who's interested and who wants to help out and volunteer. If you volunteer, I think Denise already mentioned this, you get the free guidebook, the free download, and then you also get to come to the party with us that night.
Thank you, Betty.
So we just want to thank everybody who volunteers and helps us out during the day. Some of us will be in costume, so it'll be fun.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, costume.
Sunday, September 26th, we'll open the table at 10 a.m. and we will be there until 4 p.m. And the tour takes approximately 2 hours to do. So it's not really super long. There are many houses, but it's one next to the other pretty much. So you go down each house, learning a little bit about the architect, about the style, and about the details. So it's really, really interesting.
Okay. Good. Okay.
Are there any more questions? Conchita?
I don't see any other questions, but I think that's it. I don't see any hands up or any.
I actually had a question.
Oh, Lisa.
Okay. Oh, hi, Lisa.
Hi.
Hi.
So just to make clear, this year, the docents won't be walking the route like we did last year. We will be sitting at intersections looking gorgeous and directing people.
Yes.
Okay. Alrighty. So I'll just go to I got an email from you saying that I could sign up as a volunteer, so I will definitely do that.
Great.
I don't think I'll be wearing 1951 clothing though.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a Victorian outfit. It can be anywhere from.
Oh, no. I'd prefer Victorian to 1950.
But if anybody here is going to volunteer, you can dress up in costume from the 1890s through the 1950s. So it'll be fun to see a variety of costume docents.
Okay.
With hats.
Yeah.
Hats, and we'll have chairs. We'll have chairs, and hopefully it'll be a nice breezy day.
Yeah. Good. Well, good. I'm looking forward to it. It's been a long time I've seen you, Denise. So
yeah, too long.
It'll be fun.
Well, we want to thank everybody for logging in and being here for the presentation. It was a big success. We had over 35 people join. So thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing you all on Sunday, September 26th. And thank you so much, Denise, for fantastic presentation.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you. And let's thank, did Judith sign on? Was Judith there?
I didn't see her, but she
Okay,
might.
well, we want to thank Judith Lynch for suggesting this as part of her series, The Local Lore. And we have
And
ideas.
Thank
we
you
have
all
ideas-
for putting it on.
I have ideas for more. I think we should talk about the heritage areas that we have in Alameda. We could also talk about houses that have received preservation awards. We see that through AAPS, but this is an opportunity to outreach, to share with more people about transformations of houses that have been severely remodeled and then restored. I think that would be a really very visual presentation. So that's a couple of ideas I have, and I'm sure Judith has some. Next year, she has Robert Farrar signed up to talk about Marcuse and Remmel. Bob Farrar is Mr. Marcuse and Remmel. He really is. So stay tuned. Stay tuned, and thank you all for coming, and stay safe. And we hope to see you the end of the month.
Thank you very much. It was wonderful.
Thank you, Denise.
Okay, bye.
Good presentation. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.